We're gonna go in 3,
Three,
2,
two,
1.
one.
No, you're messing my count up. You're messing with. That's not fair, Joe. That's not fair. You're messing with my timing. All right, now I'm gonna count. You're gonna shut up. Okay. All right, we're gonna go in 3.
Three,
So you got
two.
damn it, Joe. No, stop. You're messing with my timing. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on another steaming hot edition of Cup of Joe's, episode 74. I am your host, Joe Brown, joined by my best friend, Joe Perrian. And I guess we should say welcome the new year, Joe, as this is our first edition of Cup of Joe's in 2022. So hopefully, new year, new us. It's gonna be it's gonna be a fun 12 months. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it'll be a good year. It sounds like it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, because, that's what everyone says every year. It's like, last year it wasn't me, but next year is my year. And then every year is just equally terrible. Because that's how life works, You just gonna leave me hanging, or?
I had an emergency at the front door.
Okay, fine. So you just missed my existential dread comment that I had there. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Anywho, on this edition of Cup of Joe's, we are going to give some of our video game New Year's resolutions. We don't care about, go to the gym more or reading more books or any of that crap. We care about video games, right, Joe?
Video games. Here we are for them.
Right, so we'll give our resolutions on things we want to accomplish in 2022. We're also going to talk about E3 removing its or not having an actual in-person event this year. The in-person event has been canceled. We'll go over that, the implications, what that means, yada yada yada, as well as news about Final Fantasy XVI's development and problems that it is having. And then the other thing is, if you're currently listening to this, Awesome Games Done Quick is going on, which is a charity speedrunning event that's been going on for a decade now. And so I say we start there, Joe, because it's a light topic. We can just run through it real quick. How's that sound to you?
Sure.
Cool. So awesome.
Sounds great. Sounds absolutely fantastic. Let's do it.
Sweet. So Awesome Games Done Quick is happening this year, or currently right now this week. And literally right now, 24/7 for 7 days, I guess. It's not forever, but for 7-day stretch. Marathon where you can donate money for charity. I believe in the summer they actually hit $3 million, which was the most they've ever had. So yeah, every half year they do Awesome Games Done Quick and then Summer Games Done Quick. So just real quickly, Joe and I have been looking through the schedule at some of the games this time around at AGDQ, and of course, there will be surprises along the way, surprise donations for games that pop up and stuff like that. But just looking at the schedule, Joe, think of some games that you might be interested in watching. Like, for example, for me right now, if you're listening to this when this goes up on Monday, they have in the morning Kena Bridge of Spirits on PC, which, as you know, I loved that game last year. So that'll be the first game I'm really looking forward to this AGDQ.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually see how they do with Deathloop. And Deathloop's on Sunday, the first day, at 4:50 now, and then they might do Resident Evil later on. Maybe I'll look into Psychonauts that's being played later on in the week, but there isn't too much that I'm super interested in this time around.
So
not a lot.
I'll give you some things. Of course, if you miss any of the runs, they'll be uploaded to their YouTube channel too. So it usually takes a couple of days. I feel like if you miss a run on Sunday, by Tuesday or Wednesday, that run will be up on their YouTube or something. But so some things like Monday night has Super Mario Galaxy any % Luigi Race, and I'll tell you, so Luigi is a big meme in Super Mario Galaxy because at one point he's just hidden behind he's like locked in a cage on one world, and Mario has to rescue him. And it's like it's a very funny scene, but it's even funnier because once you beat the game and get all the stars with Mario, you unlock playing the game as Luigi. So if you play Luigi any percent, you're playing as a Luigi, breaking Luigi out of his prisoner or whatever, and it's like it's very funny that the two Luigis on screen.
Oh, that's funny. That sounds fun.
And actually, Super Mario Galaxy, years and years ago, I want to say like 2014, 2015, something like that, was the first time I actually donated. Like, I had been watching since we were in college, but I never donated. And it was like 5 a.m. one day. Like, I came home from work, and Super Mario Galaxy was on, and I donated. And it was the dead of night, so nothing was going on. And they actually read my donation on the stream, and I was like freaking out.
What was your donation?
I forget. It was about Mario Galaxy. It was one of like the questions the streamer posed for like people to, how they do that in the speed runs. So like I answered it, something about, I don't know, maybe it was like favorite Mario game or something. I honestly can't remember. I just remember that it was my boy Spike Vegeta that was the one hosting at the time, and he read the donation. I was freaking out.
Got it. You're like, yeah, thank God.
So let me see. Final Fantasy 13 on Tuesday morning. I'm very excited for. That was one of the first Final Fantasy games I ever played, and like it really got me into the series and stuff. I know it's got some mixed reactions, but from what I've heard, it's 80% on the PC, and I've heard that the Steam port of Final Fantasy 13 is like less than desirable. Let's just say. So I imagine they're going to do some wonky things in that game, because that game is like a 60-hour game and they're beating it in 5 hours,
That's incredible.
Right. What else do we have here, Joe? There was one other big one I want to see. Hold on. Not the Sonic block is kind of meh this year.
Yeah.
I was going to play, Diddy Kong Racing at 10 p.m. on Wednesday night. That one I'm really interested in. Followed up, this is the one you're not going to be awake for. It's at midnight on Thursday. The 3DS Zelda game Bid War. So that you can either have, it's going to be any percent of Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time, and people throughout the whole stream up to that point can donate for which 3DS Zelda game they want to be showcased. So that one,
gotcha.
That seems like a fun Bid War. I don't know if you'd probably vote for Majora's Mask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I'd vote that way just for you, Joe. The Castlevania block's going to be a big deal. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. I will say I don't know if it's going to be true, but I think if I had a hunch at one of these on one of these secret games, they always have those games pop up like, oh, if we raise $500,000, we're going to add Breath of the Wild as a run or something like, how they do that every year.
Yeah.
I think my hunch is one of the games will be Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong because the game's only a month and a half old, so they might not have planned it out in their schedule, but that's my hunch. And that's what I was looking for, Joe, was Pokemon Crystal key item randomizer or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's like over the last couple of years, it's become a gigantic category in Pokemon speedrunning in the community. That like a lot of people do. It's kind of like the Link to the Past randomizers and other Super Metroid randomizer and things like that. Like it's like that with Pokemon Crystal as the game, and I know a lot of people are really excited for that one.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to waver too much on AGDQ there, but those are some things that we're interested in. And then of course the show is ending with Metal Gear Solid, unless there is a special bonus game added afterwards. But who knows? That might be them. We're not going to know until Saturday if we're going to get that or not. So overall, should be a fun time, and hopefully they raise a lot of money for a good cause.
For a great cause, some would say.
Some would say. Okay. You know what used to be great, Joe?
What?
E3.
No,
E3 used to be great. It used to be great. We used to look out for it every year. It had big reveals and everything. E3,
like 7 years ago, yeah.
E3 used to be great, and now we might not even have E3 anymore. That's what you're supposed to go dun dun dun
dun dun dun. Even though they've kind of stated that like a few years ago too that E3 might not be a thing anymore, mainly because they thought that everybody was going to pull out of it when Sony pulled out of it. But
Right.
who knows?
So we have an article on IGN by Rebecca Valentine. E3 2022 cancels in-person event while digital show remains uncertain. We don't have to run through the whole thing, but basically ESA, which is the organization that runs E3, has canceled its in-person event for E3 2022, according to a statement shared with IGN by the ESA. But while they point to upcoming announcements, the future of the show this year and beyond remains unclear. And then this is the quote, and then we can talk about it, Joe. Due to the ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. Reads a statement sent to IGN. We remain incredibly excited about the future of E3 and look forward to announcing more details soon. So that sounds like it's not going away. So I guess that's my question to you is, I think they don't really need the in-person aspect of it. Like, just have Phil Spencer in an empty room and he can still talk about what Microsoft is doing. Like, you don't need the crowd there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think this means for the future of E3 going forward, and specifically for this year? Like, are we going to have a digital E3, or are we just not even going to have a presentation this year?
No, we'll just have like a digital E3 with all the presentations. I honestly thought that they could do most of this stuff digitally anyway. Like,
right.
Like, there's no reason they can't. I guess the only reason it was like to go is to do all this stuff in person.
Right. The experience.
Yeah. But, well, the experience was for like mainly for, it wasn't even for the public. It was only for journalists.
The public could go, but it's very tough to get.
That was only a recent thing that happened, that they started doing 150 tickets for the public. It was usually primarily only used for the
gaming journos, yeah.
For the press. The press were only allowed to be there. Right. But yeah.
But by having the press there, you're still notifying, or you're still getting information for the public because they're seeing backdoor presentations that they can report about at IGN or GameSpot or you know what I mean? So that, like, yes, we're not going in person, but you're still getting the everyday person that information by having the press there in person, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that aspect is definitely different. Like, I think this year they had the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy thing, I think, was like a backdoor presentation. So people were talking about before we even saw the gameplay. Because remember, we saw it at E3 and it was that really cool trailer at Square Enix's event that was like 10 minutes long and we loved it. So people got to see that more in depth and like report more about that. So that definitely helps us. So not having that will sting, but I'm sure they're going to find ways to get the journalists that information to spread out still to their fan bases. The only thing I wonder is, because it was canceled in 2020, if you remember, because of the pandemic, obviously. 2019 was when Sony pulled out, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I believe it was 2019 that Sony pulled out. So that was the 1 year that they didn't have Sony before it got canceled in 2022. And then last year, like, I thought it was pretty fine being, like a digital event with all the different presentations. Like, we argued it was too much going on because there were too many presentations to keep track of all the indie games and Take-Two Interactive's like weird Q&A thing and press room,
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do it again this year too. But they'll be able to do it even more.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know.
So do you think this affects the big companies' interest in a digital-only event? Like, do you think Microsoft might just have their random event in May instead of waiting till June to like announce their big stuff and phone in E3? Or do you think any of these big companies will still go like hardcore into a digital E3?
Dude, I think they'll still go hardcore into a digital E3. It's digital in the sense of they can literally do all of the same shit at a soundstage closer to them. They don't need to like bring all their stuff out to the convention center, wherever it is. They can literally just be like, okay, cool. We have this huge soundstage in our own facility with all of our stuff, and we'll just do it here. Like that, I feel like that's the big company's like greatest dream, because they don't need to spend a ton of money moving shit. I mean, stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I got you. Especially like Nintendo, right? Last year, because their whole thing was fully digital. They didn't even rent out a stage like Microsoft and other companies did, you know?
Exactly.
So I think Nintendo will definitely be a huge part of it just because they really do like that June spot to release a lot of information with the Nintendo Direct every year. And it really doesn't even matter. They could wait a week or release it a week earlier. It's still just a Nintendo Direct that happens to be happening during E3. So I think that doesn't affect them at all. But I do wonder if either Microsoft decides like, all right, PlayStation got their State of Play events every couple of months where they announce stuff, you know. Microsoft has dabbled in those over the years. They've had their own individual events outside of E3. Now that was back in 2020 when they showed off Halo Infinite, because there wasn't an E3. They had that special event showing off the Xbox One X or whatever. But the other thing that's interesting in this article here is talking about how Jeff Keighley has announced that Summer Game Fest, which happened simultaneously with E3 last year, will return this year. It says, wait for it, Joe. Multiple others we spoke to echoed that sentiment, with many remarking on the numerous successful digital events that took place without the ESA support both in 2020 and 2021. So is this somewhere where Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards and the Summer Games Fest, that whole crew, they could like swoop in, and let's say there's a company that wanted to have a big presentation or wanted to have a big moment that doesn't, you know, he could say, hey, you know, E3's not happening this year. It's just going to be online streams, or like, why don't you come in person? You'll have the big press. Like, this could be a big moment for Jeff Keighley.
It could be. Definitely. I don't know. He's a pretty good MC. I feel like watching him do the Game Awards, I think MCing this digital event would be pretty cool for him too.
Yeah, he did it last year too, and he showed off. Remember, he showed off more Tunic gameplay, and like, I think Elden Ring was also at Summer Games Fest, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was. So I think this could be an opportunity, and you know, and in the business world, more competition just makes it better for the consumer, right? So if there is another thing that is similar to E3, that means E3 has to step their game up. The only benefit is to us, the consumers, the viewers, because that makes the experience even better for us. They don't have to phone it in, which they probably did for a couple years when there was no competition, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
when there was no competition whatsoever.
So it looks like Joe and I agree. We don't think that this is like the end-all, be-all that
definitely not.
Other people have been kind of saying like, oh God, E3 is dead. It's never coming back. And it's like, yeah, well, we said that in 2020 when E3 got canceled because of COVID, and then it came back 2021, and we all still had a blast, right?
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, had fun.
Okay, so now what do you want to do next, Joe? We have two topics left. We have the delay on Final Fantasy 16. We can talk about that, or we do our gaming, New Year's gaming resolutions. What are you feeling?
Let's save that for last. Let's do the Final Fantasy one.
Okay, cool. So, this was at the end of 2021, so this news is so last year. But anyway, this is our first time getting to talk about it, and I've talked very openly about how excited I am for Final Fantasy 16. So this was a message from the FF16 producer Naoki Yoshida, and I believe he's the guy that does 14 and 16. I could be wrong, but he's the main producer on Final Fantasy 16. So greetings, everyone, and just strap in, Joe. All right. Just
strapped in.
All right. When we last spoke, I promised I would have more information on Final Fantasy 16 sometime later in 2021. However, I regret to inform you that I will be unable to keep that promise as complications stemming from the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic that have delayed the game's development by almost half a year. That's the big note. That's what we're going to focus on. Half a year. As the latest addition to the Final Fantasy series being developed for the PS5, FF16 has amassed a sizable team composed of talented creators from around the world. However, in an effort to onset the effects of COVID-19, we've had to decentralize that workforce by permitting staff to tackle their assignments from home. This has unfortunately hampered communication from the Tokyo office, which in turn has led to delays in, or in extreme cases, cancellations of asset deliveries from our outsourced partners. That's point 2 to focus on, Joe. That said, we have spent much of 2021 addressing this issue and hope to see its impact to a minimum by the new year, allowing us to better focus on the tasks at hand, increasing graphic resource quality, refining combat mechanics, fleshing out individual battles, putting the finishing touches on cutscenes, and conducting overall graphical optimization. So finishing touches and optimization, that's point 3, Joe. Our primary goal now is to be as hands-on with the game as possible in order to see it fully polished. So that leaves us with the question, when can we expect the next round of information? Well, I am happy to announce the current plan is to conduct our next big reveal in spring of 2022 as we seek to build excitement leading up to the game's eventual release. Deeply apologetic, yada. Naoki Yoshida. Okay, so before we dive into those individual points, what are your thoughts overall, just in general, on the game being delayed by almost half a year?
I don't know. Are they like, it's not their fault that a bunch of COVID stuff happened and they're trying to, I'd rather have the game finished than be like, check it out, we finished it, and then it not be finished. No,
for sure. Yeah. I just think it's, so I think it's interesting. So when they say it has delayed the game's development by almost half a year. So does that mean the game, if he was supposed to give us news by the end of 2021 and now they're unable to do that, this was the update because it was like December 28th or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that mean the news, if it was all set and good, was that the game would be coming out this spring or this summer and now it's been delayed 6 months to the fall or winter? Or was it saying that next winter was when the game was coming out and now it's going to be a 2023 game? That's what I find interesting about him specifically stating it's been delayed by almost half a year. Is he doesn't say the release date window of it, just that the game is now going to be coming out 6 months later than intended. So like, what was their intended release schedule or the release window, do you think?
I don't really know. You're the one who kind of keeps up more with the Final Fantasy stuff, so I didn't really even know that they were making this game until you sent me that, and I was like, oh, okay. But they're going to give us information about this. I would say that it would be coming out in either like mid to late 2022. You know, like,
yeah,
that could be the possibility, but now it's probably not definitely going to be like what's going to happen, but it could, I don't know, I feel like the game could end up better because of it, because people will have more time to figure out their stuff, get the graphics the way they want it, make sure there's no bugs in it. Like,
right.
I have no problem with games delaying themselves to become better. And then like with BioShock, they delayed that. The BioShock Infinite, they delayed that for like a year and a half, and it came out great, but the original story would have been cool, but it came out like better than it looked originally. You know, like it came out great.
I am hopeful, Joe, that what I'm expecting, so where he says, so it's delayed by half a year, and there's now the announcement that was going to be the end of 2021 is now going to be spring 2022. What I'm hoping is that end of 2021 was saying get it in, spring or summer 2022, and then now this spring 2022 an update will be get it winter 2022. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm being optimistic about, is that, like, because remember he mentioned like they're trying to focus on graphical optimization and putting finishing touches on cutscenes. You know what I mean? So like that's not early on development to say finishing touches on a cutscene.
Yeah, no. So like the possibility could be that it's either going to be coming out maybe like fall, winter, maybe like early 2023. Like, and by early I mean like January, February.
Right.
But maybe the original idea was to have the game come out in the summer or even in like early fall. So I don't know. Like, yeah, they're pretty far along in the game, so maybe that's a good sign of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then so the other point on so basically it seems like a lot of their issues have come from outsourcing issues and the lack of communication and issues with communication with the Tokyo office, because people are working from home in those outsourced companies. And I know this happens a lot with these big companies, obviously it's not just Square Enix making it all by themselves, just like 10 dudes in a small room. Like they hire out different companies to handle things. And that could be like one cause for concern, because if you remember Mass Effect Andromeda, right? A lot of their issues, I don't remember which BioWare studio it was. Let's just say Montreal for the lack of a better location. Let's say it was Montreal was making that game. And they had outsourced a lot of, like, you remember those "my face is tired" memes and the facial animation issues in Andromeda? You remember those memes?
Yeah, I remember those memes.
So apparently a lot of the facial animation like programming and other things were handled by an outsourced European company, and there were like language barriers and communication barriers, and that company had not been working on the crunch time as hard as the BioWare people had been used to crunch time of making all those Mass Effect games in super short notice. Like, so there were a lot of issues with that. So I do find it refreshing that this doesn't, I find it refreshing from Yoshida here that it wasn't just like a generic statement of like, we have been delayed, we apologize, but we promise it's going to be great. Like, he gave actual examples of like, we have had internal communication issues with our outsourced companies. Like, we've had these like, he actually cared about giving information instead of just giving like the cheap blanket statement, which a lot of other companies would have went for,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I feel like I appreciate that more as someone interested in this game, because I'm like, yeah, it stinks it got delayed, but however, they're putting finishing touches on the cutscenes, they're making graphical optimizations. This actually might be for the best. And then let's not forget, Joe, this is Square Enix we're talking about, who is not no stranger to game delays, right? So Kingdom Hearts, I think Kingdom Hearts was supposed to be November, and it came out in January. It got delayed to January. Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be a September game, and it got delayed to November. What was the other? There was another recent one, another recent Square game that got delayed by like a month. I can't remember, but this just tends to happen when it comes to Square. So I am definitely optimistic that the game can still reach 2022. Now, the other conversation is, this is where the main reason I want to talk to you about this, Joe, is what do these implications mean for Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, which we know is in development, and we know it's going to take forever because it's Square Enix making a game. So a lot of people had thought that the business strategy, like, this is all pure speculation, no source or anything, the business strategy is have FF16 come out 2022, and you get your shareholders all happy because they make money in 2022, and then have FF7 Remake 2 come out in 2023. Now, if 16 gets delayed to 2023, and these companies are all into their Square shareholders and their quarterly earnings and whatever it's called in stocks, the four things, I forget what they're called. Like, does that negatively impact FF7 Remake 2's release window, because it's got to be in like separate windows for the quarterly earnings? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think on
that? I got you. Dude, I don't know. Square Enix is just like Square Enix is just always down to do whatever they want with their games. I feel like they put their stuff on hold for a while. Especially like coming from like you, a person who loves Square Enix and loved the Kingdom Hearts series, and you waited how many years for the third game to come out?
I think it was 6. I think it was it was revealed 2013 E3, and it came out January of 2019, 2020. I don't even remember what year it came out. It was a January game though.
It was I think it came out, maybe it was 19. But like, how long before did Kingdom Hearts 2 come out? Wasn't that
was 2005, 2006, but they had made other games in between. It wasn't 2005 to 2019. They made Birth by Sleep. They made 3 over 2 days. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The more apt comparison is the first. So FF7 Remake, they initially started making in like 2015, and then they had to scratch development like completely 2 years in because the company they outsourced it to was just doing a terrible job. And then the Kingdom Hearts team took on FF7 Remake, like in addition to Kingdom Hearts 3. So that's why 3 got delayed, because it was working on 2 games at the same time.
Yeah. I've completely forgotten the question now. What is the question again?
If it affects FF7 Remake 2's release date or release window. Like, do they push it to either winter of 2023 or just 2024 in general now?
Do they? What was their original release window for the remake? Have they decided on that?
They haven't stated, but they said it won't be 2022. So that means everybody thinks logically that would be 2023.
Well, I don't know then if maybe they're still on track from it. Like, who knows that these 2 teams? Maybe there's 2 teams, and this one's working on this, and there's another team working on the remake. But I don't know if it'll be directly. What's the word I'm looking for? Directly impacted by it, because in all honesty, I feel like even if it is delayed, they're gonna blame it on this anyway, even if it doesn't.
Right, even if it's delayed off its own morals or because it's like Square, so it just has to get delayed. But then, oh man, this outsourcing issue, that's what it was. It's like
they're like, oh man, we're sorry.
It's like, we know you delayed it 3 months because of like one battle you were trying to fix.
Yeah, exactly.
One plot point you wanted to fix. So
that's what I'm talking about, Mr. Brown.
This is just funny. Now we're just talking, Joe. I watched a video. It's like kind of a documentary-ish, informative-ish video on Final Fantasy XIII's development, which is notoriously infamous, let's say, for how troubled of a development it was. And like, there were so many issues, like when they were sending the versions out to the other languages to, get voiceover and translating and all stuff, like they had to do that process like 5 different times with all of the other languages because they kept changing the stuff internally in Japan and like all these
my
issues.
gosh.
And so I heard the person said that Final Fantasy 13 had a 200-person team at Square, and 180 of them were artists or like lead artists or like design artists, whatever, and only 20 of them were developers. So that was also an issue, was that you had literally too many cooks in the kitchen for art and not enough people with like the meat and potatoes of actually building the game and creating the game,
Yeah.
So
I got you.
It's just Square being Square, Joe. I'm just trying to throw
Square being Square. They're just like, maybe. Ooh.
Yeah. And last note on this is I can be optimistic. I'm very optimistic. Maybe it's because new year, new me, Joe. I'm a little more optimistic than last year.
Don't say that.
2022. I'm just saying. I'm optimistic about E3. Optimistic about FF16. Optimistic about Remake 2. I think maybe it does hit because I think they know the first one was such a success. Like it was Cup of Joe's Game of the Year in 2020, so that was a big deal.
Against another Joe's
best wishes.
Best wishes. It was forced upon him.
Yes, it was Cup of Joe's Game of the Year after all, so they know it's a big deal.
Oh my god!
So what I think they really want to hit that holiday window that they keep missing because they keep delaying crap. Like they're missing with 15, they missed it with Kingdom Hearts 3. And they know FF7 Remake 2 is going to be gigantic, so they hit that window. And most companies' fiscal years are July through June, right? It's not the year. It's not the calendar year. So if Final Fantasy 16 comes out in spring, that would be the previous fiscal year. So even though they'd both be 2022, maybe, I don't know. I just think, I don't know. We're going to see. I think both games are going to be good. The delay is not the end of the world, because Square games always get delayed, so this is really not that too crazy of a story. I'm just happy that the developer was so upright and provided a lot of information.
Yeah, it's per the course of a Square Enix game. It's like This is what's going to happen anyway for a Square Enix.
Right.
Like it wouldn't be a Square game unless it was delayed 7 months.
And you know what that means, Joe? We have more time to play that Chocobo racing game that comes out this year. That's all this means. That's why they delayed it.
That is why they delayed it. Exactly why they delayed it. That thing alone.
Oh my god, I'm gonna play that game, Joe. Don't you worry. We will review it on the show.
You will review it. I will listen to you talk. How about that?
The collective we, Joe.
Oh, the royal we.
The royal we. Anyway, speaking of we, now onto our main topic of the show. We have decided that we have some goals we want to achieve this year. So usually people, they have New Year's resolutions and they want to, go to the gym more or read a book a month or something like that. All that nonsense that's not going to help you out at all. We actually have some important resolutions this year regarding video games. So Joe and I don't know how Joe many has. I have 3 though. I have 3 New Year's gaming resolutions that I am hoping to improve upon and, achieve this year. How many do you have, Joe?
Maybe like 2 or 3.
All right. So I'll go first. So for the year of 2022, these are our Cup of Joe's New Year's gaming resolutions. And let's, maybe we can even keep tabs of it, and in December 2022, we can actually look back and see, did we achieve our goals, all right?
Fair.
All right, so I'll go first. The first one for me, last year, I've been playing Teamfight Tactics since set 1, since the beta, since it was on PvE. I'm a huge TFT fan, big League fan. Everybody knows I love League. And I've also, last year I got into Legends of Runeterra, which was the card game for League of Legends. And I play it pretty consistently. I try to play it every day and at least just do my daily mission so I can get experience and stuff. And I would last year I had finally, after 5 sets, the last week of set 5, I finally made it to Diamond after the hundreds and hundreds of hours I put into all the TFT sets. I had never made it above Plat. So I made it to Diamond in set 5 for TFT. My first New Year's gaming resolution of 2022 is I would like to reach Diamond in Legends of Runeterra. I don't know if it's going to happen. I know reaching Plat is really hard there. That's a big plateau, for lack of a better word, that you have to break through for Legends of Runeterra, is getting to Platinum. If I can get to Plat, I think I can get to Diamond. That's my hopes on it. I don't know if I'm going to achieve it, but that's my first goal.
Pretty good goal. I like that goal. My first goal is to complete more video games that I buy. When you start one, you never really finish it.
Oh yeah.
My goal is to complete more of the games that I have, as well. And one of them, and it's kind of bleeds into the second one. The game I definitely want to complete is The Witcher 3.
Ooh, nice. Do you own it?
Yeah, I've had it since it came out.
Oh, okay. Now, are you gonna watch? Have you watched season 2 yet and watched the anime on Netflix? Because I'm also gonna put that on top of your resolution. You have to do those too.
I haven't watched season 2 yet. That'll get done. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to go for. Trying to do it up. You know what I mean?
Well, it's only going to take you 150 hours to do. No big deal, right?
Well, yeah, no big deal. You know what else I just found out? Dying Light 2 is going to take 500 hours to fully complete. So there we go.
So now you just play less Dying Light 2 and you play more Witcher 3, right?
I guess that Dying Light 2 hasn't even come out. It comes out in February.
No, I know. I'm saying that's your but then you're going to be contradicting your first resolution of not completing your games just to complete.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just to hit your second resolution, you actually negate your first resolution. That's funny.
Well, I think it's to 100% it. I don't think I'm going to 100% that game.
Oh, no, yeah. Don't. Yeah, there's no need to 100% those. So I'll give my second resolution this year is I would like to speed run a new game. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a new game that comes out, but throughout, I love speedrunning. I love watching and being involved in speedrunning communities, but I haven't really speedrun too much. I did Super Mario Odyssey, which was really fun. I really loved playing that game and speedrunning it. I had speedrun Pokemon Yellow before, and I love that one. Maybe I'd just go back to that one. It is a bit of a commitment, and I've been playing it without the setting up the perfect setting on your Nidoran and stuff. I've just been pure RNG, and there's issues with that that make it a little harder, take longer to complete. But maybe I go back to that. The first game I ever actually tried to speedrun, Joe, was Shovel Knight. I don't know if I ever told you about that.
No, I've never heard of this.
So when Shovel Knight came, I was big into Shovel Knight and the DLCs for Shovel Knight, and I would play it, and I loved it, and I wanted to speedrun. I literally watched Shovel Knight speedruns all the time for like two months straight. And when I would come home from work late at night, that's where I practiced Shovel Knight, but I was just awful. I was just not good at beating it fast. There are a lot of really tight tricks to bosses and like intentional damage hits, but then that means like you don't have a lot of room for missing out or for accidentally getting hit in other spots. Like you might just die. So when I'd come home at like 5 a.m. from work, I would turn on my Switch and I'd play Shovel Knight. And where the world record was like 47 minutes, it would take me like 3 hours to beat. And I just didn't have 3 hours because I'd get tired by then and I never finished it. So I never actually finished a full Shovel Knight speedrun before. So maybe I go back in that. Or maybe there's a new game that I try out. Like I've always wanted to try Super Metroid for a speedrun. Maybe I try Metroid Dread speedruns or something. Or something else tickles my fancy in 2022.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe you'll be on Awesome Games Done Quick.
That would definitely be a goal. That's a dream. That would be a dream come true. So
yeah, that would be really cool if you did that. I would want to be on your couch.
Well, you'd have to be knowledgeable on the game. You'd have to know what the glitches and stuff are to explain it to the audience.
Well, if you were going, I would learn.
Okay, fine. We can make that happen.
You're gonna leave me out? You're not gonna include me?
No, but what would your name be?
Chinless Kid, that's my gamer tag, bro. Or Trash Man.
Okay, cool.
What would your name be?
It'd be Zemanon.
Yeah, that's your gamer tag. That's your hash. That's your thing you go by.
I think you'd just be like, I was like, hey, I'm Joe. I'm here.
No.
I'm here because the other Joe forced me to be here.
Yeah, you didn't force me to be there. So just to give you some perspective, I have been watching the speedrun for what's it called?
Deathloop.
And they do, and it's not like straight gameplay like most games and like finding tricks. It's more of like breaking parts of the game to like open parts.
Right.
Or like clipping through saves and stuff. I know that's like what a lot of speedruns are about and stuff like that, but
very par for the course for speedruns.
Yeah.
It's not as really exciting, right? Yeah.
I don't really like that when they do it like that because he like clipped himself inside of the safe so he can get the journal that you have to go back and get at one point.
Right.
But I don't know.
No, I'm totally. I think we're definitely in the minority here, Joe, on this opinion. But I agree with you. Like the speedruns I enjoy watching are usually like 80% no major glitches, or just like a game where you like it's how fast do you actually beat the full game? Like not 100%, just like how fast can you beat it the way it's intended? Because like a lot of like I'll watch a lot of Mario 64 70-star or 120 runs. I will literally never watch 16-star runs because I just don't find it enjoyable. It's just not what the game. It's not how I enjoy watching the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just not fun.
So it happens, especially with shooters too. It's a big thing at GDQs with shooters. Like Doom was like that, where they just like run through stuff.
Yeah, I was really upset when they did
was
that.
Like that, where they just run through stuff and don't actually play the game quote unquote correctly. So I'm definitely with you. Like I like watching you actually play the game as fast as possible, not break it.
Yeah,
but we're different. We're different birds, Joe.
Exactly.
So you have a third one? Or you want me to go next?
You go next. I got to think of my third one.
Okay, so my third New Year's gaming resolution, I don't even know how we should phrase it. I don't know if that's proper phrasing. Is I would like to play more Final Fantasy games. So, I'm big on Ff7. Hopefully that comes out this year and I can check that one off. But it's a series that I really like. And I haven't really played most of them, honestly, especially going to the ones back in the day, right? So on Steam right now, there's the Pixel Remaster, like edition series, whatever you want to call it, where they've remastered Final Fantasies 1 through 6 with like pixel updates and graphical updates and things like that. And so like I want to go through. It's like play the first one back from the 80s and like see how different it is and how, like what's interesting about it. Play all those. I played Ff7 Remake and then I started playing the actual game, and then 10 hours in, Steam just lost my save file, and I really don't want to play through the first 10 hours of the game again. Like, so I don't know what to do with that. But I own FF8. I played FF9 back in the day. That was actually the first one I ever played, where you rented it from Blockbuster back in the day on PlayStation. So I'd never beaten that because I was a little like, 9-year-old kid who didn't know what to do. So I'd like to play FF9 again. And then my big goal, we'll talk about later on. I'm going to be gone for like a month, and we'll try to record while I'm gone. But while I am gone, I'm not going to prison. Don't worry, Joe.
I know where you're going.
I know, but it's just like when I say I'm going to be leaving, it sounds like I'm going to like a prison upstate or something. We're all good listeners. Don't worry. I will be busy for a month. Let's say when that is over, my goal or my reward for that busy month is I would like to try to get back into Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. So if you want to endeavor with me, Joe, you're more than welcome. I have some Pokemon friends that play Final Fantasy 14. I know my brother said he would play with me if I start up again on it. So that's my big gaming resolution this year, is to play more Final Fantasy games.
It's a good one. That's a good one. My last resolution, I don't know. Brown. Maybe
more games with Joe Brown.
Sure. Or to make a video game that I can beat Joe Brown in constantly over and over again, called Beating Joe Brown. How about that? That's when.
I think that's called Life, Joe. I think that's not a game you have to make. I think it's just called Life.
Yeah. The third one could be to play more games with Joe Brown. Or just
what about we
to play more
actually play a Zelda game this year, huh? What's been up with that?
Yeah, how about we actually do that, and we record some walkthroughs that we said we were going to do.
Well, not a walkthrough, because we're not guiding people. It'd be a let's play.
Yeah, a let's play. There we go.
Yeah. I'm down. Well, we'll see what happens. I might be busy playing, Final Fantasy 8 or something. But, sorry, Joe. Can't play Zelda with you. Can't play Ocarina.
There you
I
go.
still haven't even touched Skyward Sword HD. Literally not even out of its box. And
I don't know why you bought that game.
I didn't buy it. I got it for my birthday. My mom gave it to me. Okay.
And
then
fair.
I had a conversation with my friends about there was like a Twitter poll. I think I talked to you about it too, where who was a more iconic character, Link or Sonic? And some of my friends said it was Link, and I said absolutely not. And I said, first of all, most people who don't play games don't even know that Link isn't, or that Zelda isn't Link. They don't know the name. The name of the series is not named after the main character. And my mom knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is, and she doesn't know who Link is. And they're like, no. And then I literally, as she got me that for my birthday, I said, Mom, can you tell me the name of that green, the character in the green clothes on the cover? And she said, Zelda? And I was like, nope, thank you. I just won the argument.
No, that's because your mom knows Sonic the Hedgehog because you probably liked Sonic the Hedgehog more than Zelda when you were younger.
No, but people who don't play Zelda, like your mom or whoever, anybody, they wouldn't know. Like, that's like the classic joke, is people think Link is Zelda because they don't play the Zelda games. But my mom knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is.
There you go. I guess you're right then.
So
in your own world.
So that means we have to play Skyward Sword.
No.
Come on, Joe. It's a resolution. You can't just go back on New Year's resolutions. Nobody ever does that. Everyone follows them through.
How about we play all the games to get to Skyward Sword and then see if we want to play it?
Oh, so you want me to play Zelda 1 on the NES?
No, I want you to play Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then Twilight Princess, and then we could play Skyward Sword.
They're all on my Wii U. So I'd have to set up my Wii U. I'd have to set up the capture card and stuff. So if you want to commit, that's the thing. I'm willing to commit, Joe, but I'm not playing for 40 minutes at a time. Like, we're sitting down and we're having like 6-hour gaming sessions together.
Oh my God. Okay.
So, and your sleep schedule be damned. If we're stuck in a dungeon, you're not going to bed. We're figuring that crap out.
I'm going to bed. We'll come back to it the next day.
That doesn't sound like much of a resolution to me.
That sounds like I also need to keep my job.
You know what's more important? Saving Hyrule, okay?
You know what's more important than saving Hyrule? Make sure that I have money to buy the ability to save Hyrule. How about that?
Remember that one time I posted on Facebook when we beat Wind Waker? That like it was like a news story. And, like, it was,
yes.
Yeah. we got so many likes on that post. It was like, of course the liberal media won't talk about what's really going on or something, and how Joe, Perry, and I just saved Hyrule. We were underwater, no big deal. Like, we got a lot of likes on that one. That was a good time. Wind Waker's still my favorite, by the way. I don't care what you say. You won't change that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not here to change your opinion as long as you like a Zelda game. That's all I care about.
Cool. So I think we have some things to look forward to for this year, Joe. Some accomplishments hopefully we can hold each other to.
Yes, definitely.
Or just hold each other. Anyway, that's going to do it for Cup of Joe's this episode. Thank you so much for joining us here on our first edition of the new year. That rhymed. I have been your host, Joe Brown, and now I forgot that Joe is supposed to close out the show every time, so now Joe can actually end the episode.
And I've been your host, Joe Perry, and thank you for joining us on this episode of Cup of Joe's. We'll see you in the next episode. Dang it, Brown! You got me all mixed up.